Alright, here are the instructions for how to laser the top of your Tingler project. So first thing you want to do is open up CorelDRAW, start a new file. Make sure you change the name of this file to your last name _ top. Make sure the width is set up to 24 inches and the height is set up to 12. And then the last thing you want to make sure you do is change the primary color mode to RGB if it's not already selected.
Your file started, what you want to do is go ahead and save it. So go to File, Save As. So File, Save As. And you want to save it to your Google Drive. If you do not see your Google Drive here, what you need to do is type here, Drive, and you'll see your Drive file stream will pop open. Click on that and log in. Okay. Since I'm already logged in, it won't give me the same screens you'll get a sign in for your Google. So go ahead, click on that and log in. Once you've done that, then Google Drive will pop up here. Make sure you name it with your last name and then whatever it is so that we know what it is once we get to the back of the room for the laser. Okay. Also make sure that you're saving it in the shared drive. So you should have the EPT1 shared folder. So here, EPT1 Sanders, and you're able to save it in the appropriate folder. So for our Tingler top. Okay. If you don't have the EPT1 shared folder, what you'll have to do is go back in Schoology to the first week of class, and then it'll be listed underneath the first or second day here. So it's the adding EPT shared folder to your Google Drive. You'll have to do that. Okay. Once you have all those things done, then your file is saved and you're ready to go ahead and complete the setup. As always, make sure you save it, save often, save always, and make sure you're saving
The page
following
size,
steps.
what we want to do is set this up so that it shows the area that we're going to be using on that laser. So one of the first things I'm going to do is zero the corner here, because you can see right now 0 is set up for one of the directions, but for the other it's not. So I'm going to grab the corner, and I'm going to drag that down, and I'm going to line it up with that corner and just let go. And that's going to line it up 0, 0 for us. All right. Then I want to set up my overall width and overall height for the laser for the top, the size of the top. So I'm going to drag down from the scale, and I'm going to let go. It doesn't really matter where you let go because we're going to type in the measurement up here. Since we're below the 0 line, we're going to have to put in a negative. We want that to be negative 3.5. And then I just click enter, and it moves right to 3.5. I'm going to click this layout line over, and I'm going to type in the measurement 4.125. That's our surface, the area that we have to work with now. So what I'm going to do is grab my zoom tool and zoom in on this section. And then I'm going to go back to my arrow tool. We need a layout where a couple of things are still. So we want to know where the slot is for our slide rail potentiometer. And we want to know where the two pieces of wood are for the connection between the top and the bottom piece of plastic. So I'm going to grab a rectangle. I'm just going to draw a rectangle. It doesn't really matter what size because we're going to adjust that size up here. And that is 1/2 inch wide by 1 3/8, 1.375 tall. I just click enter. Do make sure that this little lock button here is unlocked. If it's set to lock, it's not going to allow you to change that the way you would like. Next thing you need to do is place where that thing is going to go. So right now, this little square right here is showing that we're referencing where the position is based off of the center. But what we want to do is actually reference it from the lower left-hand corner. So if you click, just select that lower left-hand corner button there. Now we're referencing where the position of this is from the left of the page and from the bottom. So what I'm going to do is change those dimensions for X to 0.875. And for the Y, I want it to be negative 3.188. And that automatically moves it right into the perfect position. Next thing I want to do is put in some text. So in order to know where the text can go, it can pretty much go anywhere on this surface with the exception of in this area because that's going to be a slot. Keep in mind there's going to be two pieces of wood here and here. In fact, let's bring out some layout lines that are at 0.5, and they're 1/2 inch less than our full length. So what I'm going to do is type in here 4.125 minus 0.5. And that's going to automatically do the math for me. So right here is going to be a strip of wood, and right here is going to be a strip of wood. So I try to keep my lasering in the middle here. So I'll go back, grab my text tool, and I'm going to put in a few things. First thing I'm going to put in is my name. And notice I'm not too worried about where I put it because I'm going to move it later. Something else you might put in here is the date. And you could also put maybe the class that this was made in. Once I figure out all the text that I want to put in there, making sure that you have at least your name, I'm now going to position where it goes. So I go back, grab my arrow tool, and when I click on the text, I should get a little X in the center, and I can grab that and drag it to where I want it to go. So I'm going to position these all relatively center on the page. Looks pretty good. A little bit lower on this one maybe. Good. Next thing I want to do is set up the scale. So when the slide rail potentiometer is all the way down, that's going to be the weakest setting. And then when it's all the way up, it's going to be the strongest setting. So what I want you to do is come up with something that says essentially weak to strong. But don't use weak and strong because that's not a really good creative way of doing it. So come up with a different way of naming it. Some people reference sports. You know, maybe you're looking at a fumble all the way up here to a touchdown or something to reference equestrian or whatever it might be. So I've got my text in, I got my scale in. Next thing I might want to do is put in a picture. So if I go out to Google, what I can do is search for a random picture. Maybe I go ahead and look for a car. Grab my images. And you'll get lots of pictures that are super detailed. And what we find out with the laser is it doesn't work out too well for having too much detail. So I'm going to change this to make the pictures a little bit less detailed by clicking on Tools, changing my color to black and white. And then I can even go to my type here and I can change it to clip art or line drawings or something to that effect, where it's going to make the pictures a lot easier for the laser to use. Now, this one looks pretty good for me. I like that one, so I'm going to grab that. So I can just right click on that, copy the image, go back to my program, and paste it in. Now, notice that it came out black here. Sometimes your images are going to be set that way where you might have to do some extra things to it in order to make it sure it shows up. Easier thing might be just to get rid of that one and choose something different. This one looks good. There we go. Now it's a lot too big, so what I'm going to do here is grab my corner. Make sure you grab the corner you're scaling so that I can get it to be the size that I want it to be to fit in the appropriate spot. Still a little too big. There we go. Okay. Because we're going to laser this on the bottom of the top piece of plastic, we need to make sure we reverse all these images. So first thing I can do is I select whatever I want to reverse. So here's my text. Up top there's a mirror button. I just select that and I can go ahead and mirror it. But notice that it didn't just flip in place, but it's actually flipping based off of that position that we chose earlier. So what I'm going to do is go back to where I was. Remember this little square that we changed? We need to change that back to the center one. And now when I click mirror, it just flips right from where the center of that text is. So flip any text you have. If you chose an image that was a logo or something that had text in it, where it matters if the direction is the right direction, you probably have to flip that too. If I wanted to, I can flip this car, but it doesn't really matter to me if that's flipped. Okay. Now my text is backwards. Everything is set up exactly the way I want. The last thing I need to do is I need to delete this rectangle. That rectangle was there only for placement purposes. If we take it back to the laser, it's going to want to actually cut that rectangle out. And we don't want to do that because we already have a slot where that rectangle is. So I'll go ahead and delete that. And then I can go ahead and hit save.